China confirmed last month it had destroyed one of its own weather satellites, but denied it was threatening an arms race in space. Foreign Ministry spokesman Liu Jianzhao said his government had briefed the United States, Japan, and other countries after the weather satellite was hit by a missile on January 11th. Those countries have voiced worries about dangerous space debris and escalating military rivalry in space, but Liu said such fears were groundless.
中方在反对外空武器化、反对外空军备竞赛这方面的原则立场没有任何的变化。那么同时我也要强调呢，这次实验不针对任何国家，也不对任何国家构成威胁。
With its first successful test, Beijing joins the US and Russia in developing the missile technology to knock out objects orbiting 800 kilometers above the Earth's surface. The strike raises tension in Asia and rekindles an unhealthy race to dominate outer space, 20 years after Washington and Moscow stopped testing such weapons. China spends $500 million a year on its space programs, according to official figures, while Washington spends $20 billion a year on its military space programs, including the vulnerable military communication and spy satellites that give the U.S. a war-fighting advantage over other countries.
We certainly are concerned by any effort by any nation that would be geared towards developing weapons or other military activities in space. That's absolutely contrary to what are, again, policies articulated by the White House.
China's weather satellites will travel about the same altitude as the U.S. satellites. The test represented an direct threat with advanced systems.
Welcome to this time show. And was an indication of China's satellite weapons. How will we China's defense modernization programs and what implications of China's defense rising power? And let's talk about that. Joining us today is Arthur Dean, Research Fellow at the Institute of Chinese Relations at National Zhengzhou University. Dr. Dean has been widely known for China's People's Liberation Army. Dr. Dean, welcome to our program.
Nice to see you.
Are you surprised at all by the China's act of launching missiles and shut down the satellites?
Somewhat surprised, but we all know that China already had the capability for a long time. But surprised for they did take the action to launch the missile to shut down its satellite.
Mm-hmm. But as we know that China has been arguing for this kind of peaceful and stable environment, and China has been trying to sell the image to the world that China is very responsible. Do you think the timing is kind of suspicious for launching the missiles?
Well, it's hard to say why China did this at this time, but we have different speculations. One of the speculations related to Taiwan, and it's interrelated, and for the Taiwan, the United States. We all know that at the beginning of this year, China said that 2007 will be a crucial year for Taiwan independence. What it means China really concerned about the possible constitution amendment, which might lead into so-called de jure, so-called Taiwan independence. Then how China to preempt, to prevent this possible action by the Taiwan's ruling party, DPP. So here's the speculation goes that China, in order to preempt and to prevent the Taiwan's possible move in this direction, so China, by launching a missile to shut down its meteorology satellite, to indicate, to give the warning to Taiwan that we are prepared.
So are you saying that the political motives behind that is, targeted Taiwan?
Yeah, it's a kind of one of the speculation, for the political motivation. And at the same time, also send a signal to the United States that we are also prepared.
Yeah.
So you need to give Taiwan pressure, so Taiwan will not take the action in this direction.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a very strong political motivation behind. I talked with Chinese analysts most recently, and I raised this kind of speculation to him, and he seems he tacitly agreed with this kind of explanation. So, but no, I have to say that it's one way of the explanation.
But is that part of this grand strategy of China's efforts to develop some sort of aerospace, technologies and aerospace weapons?
Well, back to almost 20 years ago, we know that China has a program called A63 program. It's formally announced in March 1986, approved by Deng Xiaoping. The A63 program is to develop a so-called high-tech program. And one of the reasons behind to push this program is that there's a China for need to develop the high-tech program. And this can, to boost China's so-called national comprehensive power. And as a consequence, can lift up China's international status. So if this kind of anti-satellite capability is kind of a derivative from the China's high-tech program.
But in addition to developing weapons in aerospace, China is also developing blue water navy. What is the grand strategy behind China's defense modernization programs?
Well, China, particularly in the after 1990s, China said we want to become a big power. And to be a big power, you got to have commensurate military capability, so that you will not be underdogged. So this one of the reasons that China not just to have the so-called economic development program. China also have the so-called defense modernization program hand in hand, so that the China's status will be can be lifted up further and further to restore its so-called glorious past.
Yeah. Every year, the U.S. Pentagon publishes reports about People's Liberation Army. And what do you suggest that we should pay attention to? What's the most noticeable trend in China's defense modernization programs?
Well, the trend is that China fully realized what kind of a modern war will be in the future. So China selectively to develop the several critical programs. For instance, we call the information warfare capability, and along with that, the so-called space program, and the so-called cyber warfare program, and also in terms of operations, they try to develop a so-called joint operation capability.
That's right.
So it's whole range, and in order to meet these requirements, China also made the concurrent reform. For instance, in their military education, in their personnel recruitment, so on and so forth. So I would say it's very broad range, very comprehensive defense transformation.
Is China hoping to become a regional dominant power, or just a traditional power located in Chinese continent?
Well, I would say probably it's a matter of timing and the steps. Probably in the near future, maybe down the road, 10 years down the road. Then the first step is try to deter the U.S. from involving in the so-called Taiwan Straits. But as China always says that we want to restore the so-called glorious past, means China has aspired to be a regional dominant power. It's possible steps in the midterm future, maybe.
That's right. But as we know that China has been criticized for not being transparent in its defense programs. How transparent is it now, compared to maybe 10 years ago?
I would say, China, as we know that every 2 years, China releases so-called defense white paper. And China also now invite the foreign observer to observe their military exercise. So there's no doubt that China did make progress in transparency as we expect, but there's still a long way to go for China. For instance, the defense budget, in the defense white paper released end of last year, late last year, right before China released the report, the Western media expect that China will give more detailed breakdown of the defense budget, but it end up quite disappoint us because it's just remain a lump sum figure, no detailed breakdown. For instance, how much spent for the Army, how much spent for the Navy or Air Force. There's no detailed breakdown of the figure. So, as we said, that China still have a long way to go.
Yeah, but in order to open up the so-called break box of the Chinese defense capabilities, the U.S. has been trying to engage in some sort of military-to-military exchanges with the PRC's PLA. And how successful is it, to this kind of military-to-military, cooperation?
Well, I would say some kind of a partial success, I would say, for the U.S.-China mirror-to-mirror exchange. Because China always argues that in terms of capability, U.S. is far more ahead of the China. So U.S. should be more transparent than China did. So I would say it's kind of a proportional idea. But we all say, but in the East Asia, China is, in terms of capability, China is far more ahead of many so-called regional countries. So China also should be more transparent than the regional countries. But anyway, particularly under the Pacific PACOM, the current Pacific Commander, Admiral Folland, the China start to be more open, inviting the Admiral Open to visit the Air Force base and to visit the aircraft developed by China. And also, China start to have a more, still very superficial level for so-called the naval joint exercise. It's more for the humanitarian rescue missions rather than really military joint exercise. But at least the step has been taken and the start for the more in-depth the mirror-to-mirror exchange.
Last summer, the PACOM invited some military officers from China to visit and observe the so-called military exercise.
Yes.
And the U.S. was hoping to see some reciprocity. Do you think that would happen this year, if there was a military exercise on the part of China?
But actually, maybe back to years ago, China has military exercise somewhere in the northern part of China. As far as I know, that the U.S. military attaché was invited to observe the military exercise, but it's for the ground force.
That's right.
Not for the Navy and the Air Force. So maybe it's opportunity there. There's opportunity there for China to gradually open and invite the American military observer to observe the Chinese military exercise.
What are the motivations behind China's very active engagement with the U.S. militarily?
Well, China has different calculation from the United States. For U.S., U.S. try to build up the so-called from the down to the personal level. So whenever there's emergency, American military leader know where he can call to get the response. But China has the different calculation. For instance, maybe China want to show the goodwill, and China want to get more operation experience from the United States. And so there's a different calculation, different motivation for conducting the mirror-to-mirror exchange. And so far, that's why the United States feels so frustrated, because as we all know that the United States always accuse that the China is not reciprocal with regard to the mirror-to-mirror exchange program. So the United States expect that China will be more open and allow the United States to know more about China's real capability. and to establish some kind of communication channels.
Yeah.
But what China wants is to know more about the operation experience from the United States and to show the goodwill.
Yeah.
So it's the imbalanced approach.
Yeah, but on the part of the U.S. Pentagon, you have a new leadership change, and Rumsfeld left the office, and your new secretary. Do you see in the future that there will be more military-to-military exchanges, or limited or lesser, a few exchanges?
Well, I would say for the remaining 2 years, maybe for President Bush, I would say probably the level of the military-to-military exchange will be gradually to improve. For instance, that before Secretary Rumsfeld left office, he approved the several exchange programs. For instance, China's Rocket Force commander, General Jin Ziyuan, will be invited to visit United States, although it's not materialized yet. But before he left his office, some program has been settled down. What need to do is that to implement the exchange program. So I would say the atmosphere will be improved somewhat, and the level of exchange will be improved. Yeah. But probably one thing will not be changed is that in terms of operational level, particularly for the operational level, United States will not allow China to know the real operational experience. Yeah. The United States learned in the past decades how to conduct a joint operation, because that might impact the so-called Taiwan Strait security and the U.S. Leadership in the Asia-Pacific region. Yeah.
But we have read from the newspaper that some officials, Pentagon officials, say that China's act of shooting down the satellite was a wake-up call for the U.S. Will that in any way affect the course of military-to-military cooperation between the two countries?
As far as I know, seems no military exchange program has been canceled. For instance, the standing chief of staff, in China side, he's going to visit the United States, particularly right after these shooting incidents. So since the U.S. the Pentagon did not cancel those programs already be settled down. Maybe U.S. want to get more explanation from the China side. So it's one of the reasons the exchange program has not been canceled so far.
Okay, good. Another country that has been paying close attention to China's rising power is Japan. So when we come back, we will talk about Japan's response to the rising power of China. Let's take a short break. Stay with us.